Facing a vicious dog charging at him, he actually lit a match and set himself on fire. Instantly, flames engulfed his body, scaring the aggressive dog into a whimpering mess. But the nearby officer wasn't fooled. He immediately ordered his men to open fire. Seeing this, the man quickly dashed toward the lake. Under a hail of bullets, he had no choice but to leap into the water. Using the weight of gold bars in his bag, he sank straight to the bottom. However, hiding wouldn't last forever. A human can't hold their breath for long. He'd have to surface eventually. The officer knew this too. He had all his men surround the lake, staring intently at the water. Sure enough, bubbles soon rose to the surface. The marksman on shore took aim, ready to fire. Suddenly, the man's head emerged. The gunman pulled the trigger instantly. It seemed like a miss, but the water turned red with blood. Assuming the man was dead, the officer ordered his men to row out and retrieve the gold. One soldier dove into the depths, but instead of finding a corpse, the man appeared behind him. In one swift motion, he slit the soldier's throat and pressed his mouth against the wound, greedily sucking the air from the dying man's trachea. More blood bubbled to the surface, terrifying the soldiers in the boat, but the officer didn't care. He ordered another man to dive in. Despite his fear, the soldier had no choice but to jump. Soon, more bubbles and blood appeared. The remaining soldier on the boat panicked, putting on his helmet in fear. Then, he felt something tugging at the boat's rope. When he turned to look, what he saw nearly made him piss himself. The man, like a demon, was floating beside the boat. The soldier knew any resistance meant death, so he ignored the officer's orders and desperately rowed toward the opposite shore. Thinking the soldier was deserting, the officer ordered the marksman to shoot. Without hesitation, they fired, killing the fleeing soldier, but the boat kept moving. Confused, the men realized the man was still alive, pulling it himself. Once the boat reached shore, he grabbed the gold and disappeared. A surprise return. Days later, the man's missing dog suddenly returned. Overjoyed, he rushed to greet it, but his smile vanished in an instant. The dog had a grenade strapped to its body. Reacting fast, he ripped it off and hurled it away. Before he could recover, 3 armed men appeared, captured him, and strung him up on a billboard. Yet the man refused to die. Once they left, he struggled to step onto a protruding nail, but his foot kept slipping. Then, he spotted exposed rebar above. With a grim resolve, he lifted his leg and forced the sharp metal into his flesh, using it as a foothold. He hung there all night. At dawn, a plane flew overhead. The vibrations loosened the bolts, and the billboard collapsed. The sudden jerk woke him as the rope slid free. Nearby, the plane had landed, and 2 pilots were searching for fuel. When they spotted the man, he had just fallen from the billboard. One pilot approached, noticed he was still alive, and drew his gun to finish him off. But in that moment of hesitation, the man kicked the soldier down, killing him instantly. Hearing the noise, the other pilot rushed over, only to find his comrade dead and the man gone. Before he could react, a brick came flying at his head. Alone again, the man sat in silence, holding the last of his stolen gold. After a long moment of thought, he decided to sell it and make one final, terrifying decision.